Trudeau's top minister at Mar-a-Lago to discuss border security. Okay, Trudeau's top minister at Mar-a-Lago to discuss border security. So Dominic LeBlanc and former Foreign Minister Melanie Joly met the U.S. Commerce Secretary nominee Howard Lutnick and Interior Department nominee Doug Burgum at Mar-a-Lago to discuss Canada's border plan. The plan includes installing surveillance towers along the border and amid the Canada's border, what is it? Amid the what? Amid, along with arming the Canada Border Services Agency with more helicopters, drones, and workers, while also addressing the harm caused by fentanyl and the potential negative impact of a proposed 25% tariff on Canadian goods. Lutnick and Burgum agree to relay these updates to President Trump, so they did not meet with Trump. They met with Trump's leaders. And then Kevin O'Leary comes out and says the following, and then, Tom, I'm going to come to you right after this. Rob, if you got the Kevin O'Leary clip.
I'm ready.
He makes a comment about how half of Canadians feel about Canada being the 51st states. Go ahead, Rob.
There's 41 million Canadians, basically the population of California, sitting on the world's largest amounts of all resources, including the most important, energy and water. Canadians, over the holidays, the last 2 days, have been talking about this. They want to hear more. And so, there's obviously a lot of issues, more details, but what this could be is the beginning of an economic union. Think about the power of combining the two economies, erasing the border between Canada and the United States, and putting all that resource up to the northern borders where China and Russia are knocking on the door. So secure that, give a common currency, figure out taxes across the board, get everything trading both ways, create a new, almost EU-like passport. I like this idea, and at least half of Canadians are interested. The problem is the government's collapsing in Canada right now. Nobody wants Trudeau to negotiate this deal. I don't want him doing it for me, so I'm going to go to Mar-a-Lago. I'll start the narrative. The 41 million Canadians, I think most of them would trust me on this deal.
So here's what's going on. He brings up some very interesting point. I take you back to November 1st, 1993, with Helmut Kohl, who was Chancellor of Germany at the time, and Francois Mitterrand, one of the famous leaders of France, got together and put together the Maastricht Treaty, M-A-A-S-T-R-I-C-H-T, Maastricht Treaty, which established the EU to do exactly what he talked about. Because in the EU, they had the rich countries and they had the poor countries. And you had Portugal and you had Italy and you had countries that had some struggling economies. And they came together, and that's what created the EU. And there it is, the Maastricht Treaty. It was November 1st, 1993 is when it was ratified, and it brought them all together. And they had one currency, except the UK, who said, you know what? We have the strongest currency out here. We're going to keep the UK pound because you knuckleheads are probably going to screw this up, and you're going to expect the UK pound to carry the currency of Europe. So that's what happened. And guess what? This is what Kevin O'Leary is saying. The US dollar and the Canadian dollar used to be kind of close together. You know what it is right now? A Canadian dollar, if you handed it to me in Buffalo, New York, because you came across to see Niagara Falls, you know how much I would give you? 70 cents US.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So
little loonies.
So, and by the way, do you know when Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc and Foreign Minister Melanie Joly, wait a minute, your Finance Minister and your Foreign Minister come to Mar-a-Lago to talk to Commerce Secretary nominee Howard Lutnick. Finance, foreign, wait a minute, maybe they're talking about an EU. And by the way, an EU would make sense because the U.S. is an energy exporter right now, and it would actually strengthen Canada. And what the U.S. doesn't need is a failed Canada, but the U.S. doesn't want to be the one that rescues Canada. And so what's going on right now is Canadians don't like their taxes. They don't like what's going on in immigration. And by the way,
and they hate their leader.
And by the way, guess what? Guess what the two number one and number two issues for Canada is as they push against Trudeau?
What?
The economy's number one. Guess what number two is?
What?
Immigration.
Oh, great.
Hey, that's funny. We had a similar election, and we elected a leader to lead. Canada's people and Kevin O'Leary are reacting to the leadership of Donald Trump, even as he carries the title of president-elect. And he's talking exactly about what happened in Europe when they harmonized things to stabilize those economies.
Tom, what's the likelihood of this happening?
I think it's probably 20% and rising, especially on the energy side. By the way, that guy that
let me ask, but the question I'm asking you is
of
not
an EU type treaty.
Yeah, no. What is between what U.S. and Canada?
Yeah, not a state, just an EU type
So
treaty.
the 51 state, that's not going to happen.
No, that'll happen to Puerto Rico sooner than that would ever happen in Canada.
Okay, so an EU-like treaty that would benefit U.S. in what way? I know would benefit Canada, where U.S. wouldn't put a tariff on them, but how does that benefit us?
Well, two things, right? If a somewhat stronger Canadian currency helps Canada, it actually helps us right now with the Canadian currency weak when we do energy trades, right? Because they have to pay us a whole lot more Canadian dollars, for the energy. So that helps us. But if we move it together on the northern edge, remember, I believe the number is 81% of Canada lives within 200 miles of the U.S. border, because you have Montreal, you have Vancouver, you have Toronto, and I think that's it. I think it's the 8,200. 80% of Canada lives within 200 miles of the U.S. border. And so you already have all of this. Yep, there it is. 93 miles. 80% of the population lives within 150 kilometers, only 90 miles. So you're basically talking suburbs of Buffalo, Detroit,
Right.
and Seattle. That's what you're talking about. Toronto is right there, Windsor Loch at Detroit, Buffalo and Montreal, right down the street from each
the
other.
winner here is Canada more than it is U.S.
The winner here is a stabilized Canada, and to the U.S., a stabilized neighbor, I think is very positive. And you already have a lot of labor that goes back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of years, Ford has built tons of trucks right over the border in Canada, in Detroit. It looks like Detroit, because you say, well, where does Detroit stop and Toronto begin? I can't really tell you. It's the factories are right there. It's similar to Maquiladora's. Maquiladora meant little sister,
Adam?
I believe.
Yeah.
Tom, I know you're Canadian, so you have a vested interest in this, by the way.
Canadian descent.
Anyone we hear that reaches out on Connect, by the way, reached out on Connect to us, every single Canadian is like, dude, how the hell do I get out of Canada? What's going on in Florida? Can you get me to America? I'm like, what do I look like? Ice? How many messages do you get from people in Canada being like, get me out of this place?
For me, the number 2 country by a mile is Australia on Connect.
Really?
It's not even close.
I was at Trader Joe's, and a girl from Canada literally stops me. And she goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're here." I'm like, "So where are you from?" She goes, "Canada," and I can hate it. And she's like, "We're all everybody's trying to come here.
Yeah.
The president, Trudeau is horrible.
Yeah.
The taxes suck. The borders." I'm like, "Geez." I have not heard one person go, Man,
life's
Canada,
good.
zero.
Yeah, every single
zero.
Did you hear what Ben Shapiro said about Trump and Trudeau? I think it was actually at Turning Point at AmFest. Did you hear what he said?
No.
The story? He goes, and Ben Shapiro actually did a decent Trump accent. He goes, Trudeau's meeting with Trump, and he goes, "Hey, Justin, if there were one thing that I could do to wreck the Canadian economy, what would it be?" And Trudeau goes, "Well, you're a really powerful country, but President Trump, if you tariffed and taxed our vehicles, that would probably be the worst thing. That would probably wreck our economy." And Trump goes, "Justin, let me teach you the first rule of negotiations. When someone asks you what would wreck your economy, don't answer it, guy." The crowd goes up in uproar. And basically, it just shows that Justin Trudeau's the dumbest negotiator ever.
Period.
Just reeling his hand. I called him a fag last week. You don't have to be gay to be a fag. He's not gay. He's a fag. Do we have the clip from Ben Shapiro? Do we have that clip?
I mean, we don't need to play
We don't
it.
play it.
You
I did it. You said it.
You
It was
did
what
a
it
great
was.
job.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but Justin Trudeau, like I said last week, is a dead man walking. This guy Pierre Poilievre, is a stud. He's eating his lunch every single week, and he's the guy that's gonna be negotiating with Trump. We're gonna see how it goes.
By the way, if they stabilize their economy and they lower their tax rate, those consumers are buying more stuff, and we're like their largest trading partner.
Mm-hmm.
So they're buying stuff like energy.
Yeah, I'm
from
just trying to
us.
see how it benefits us. This is the last chance here for the end of your sale with vtmerch.com. If you haven't yet ordered, we have so many different things. with 50% off. The flip-flops right now are $22. The blue future looks bright. There's so many. Obviously, the sizes is the challenge, but if it's got your size, this is your chance to get a bunch of discounts for yourself. And for the first 50 orders, you will get these new Future Looks Bright gold and black keychain that came with Valuetainment logo on it. And on the back, it says Future Looks Bright. First 50 orders, you're going to get these keychains. So go ahead and place your order. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.